Thanks again,
Thanks
guys.
again, guys.
We are
We
live
are
on
live on
another
another
Heart to
Heart
Heart
to Heart
podcast.
podcast.
And
And
before we get
before
started,
we
I
get
just want
started, I
to
just want to
say thanks to
say
Bree
thanks
for
to
giving
Bree
us this
for giving
opportunity
us
to
this
use
opportunity to use
this podcast at
this
this
podcast
time.
at this time.
And
And
tonight's
tonight's
topic is
topic is
falls under
falls under
men's health, and we're talking about
mental
the
health, and we're
challenges
talking about
in
challenges
parenting our
in
adult
parenting our
children.
adult children.
I'm hearing a feedback, guys. But,
I'm hearing guys,
I'm
but,
hoping that
I'm hoping that
this will sort of rectify itself as we go along. All right. So, quickly, Marv, how do you want to introduce yourself, and then followed by Ray? Just a quick, tell the viewers
tell the viewers
something quickly about yourself before we get started.
Before we get started.
Which one, me or Ray? I didn't hear you.
You can start with you, Marv.
We start with me? All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Marvin Riley. I am a correctional officer in the state of Maryland. I have 4 beautiful children,
Okay.
and Andrew and I have been friends for a long time.
A long time. Yeah. And Ray.
So my name is Raynard Riley. Marvin and I are cousins. Been close since day one. I have 3 sons, 1 adult child, 1 adult son, 2 teenage sons, and I'm a practicing dentist in Summit, New Jersey.
Amen. Okay, so let us just jump into this. And I guess the first question is parenting ever finished? What's your thought, Marvin?
Ray, you wanna tap?
Apparently, we are having some difficulties with Marv's audio. I know on my side, we have been having a lot of thunderstorms. And when that happens here in Florida, the network tends to act up. So I'm hoping that we don't lose connection as we proceed. But let us just switch to Ray. Probably Ray, you can go first in answering that question. Is parenting ever finished?
In my opinion, I would say yes. To some people, that may sound controversial, but
Right.
to me, parenting, there is a conclusion to parenting. And I like to use definitions. And when you define the word parent, you have the noun aspect, person, place, or thing, the mother or the father who produced or birthed the child. That's the noun aspect. The parent or parenting, the verb aspect is the action of raising a child. So you want to provide, besides the food, clothing, and shelter, you want to provide guidance and wisdom and, emotional support and things of that nature. So now you do that. And then, whether it's the legal world that says that a child, you're pretty much, a child is an adult at 18, or science says that the human brain fully develops around age 25 or so. At some point in time, the actual parenting, it does end when that child is now an adult. So the relationship to me would perhaps transition to, you can still have a child can call and ask for advice because you have a little bit more knowledge and wisdom, but
Right.
you're no longer telling that child what to do and parenting that child. And I think it would be a conflict where if that child, imagine a man has a child, he has a son, and then the son has a son, and then the father still telling the father what to do in front of the grandson. That just doesn't seem to jive for me. So at some point in time, it ends, and it's more of a advice role that you would play, but you're no longer parenting the child. It's over.
Right. Okay. I understand where you're coming from. I understand it, and the nuances there. And I think as we go along, because I have some follow-up questions that will somewhat flesh out some more of what you're saying. Because yes, you're saying parenting does continue, but it just continues in a different fashion. Certain aspects of it end, but it then looks differently as time goes by, right?
Yeah, it's different
Right.
because I would imagine that when you figure or you say the word parenting, you automatically figure that you're parenting a child.
Right.
But when a child grows up to be an adult, then it's automatically excluded because the child is an adult. You don't parent adults.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm wondering, Marv, are you back? Can you hear us, Marv?
I don't see him.
Okay. Hopefully he is he disconnected and is in the process of reconnecting. Yeah. Okay, so let us just continue. I guess a follow-up question is, can good parents produce wayward children? What's your take on
In my opinion, good parents cannot produce wayward children. So I think we would have to define and really pin down what we mean by wayward. But when you think about parenting children, I would say in traditional times, you had a certain order. So you had God, then man, husband, then wife, mother, and you have children. So the children submit to the mother submits to the husband, and she's okay with submitting to the husband because she knows that the husband has the entire family's interests and best interest in mind because he's following God's mandate, so to speak. So the father can go out and be productive and provide for the family and devote his time, energy, and attention to that. The mother can now do the parenting for the children and focus on that 100% of the time. So the wisdom, the guidance, the teachable lessons, that stuff is being instilled on a consistent basis. And yeah, so with having said that, it's my opinion, maybe ideally, children will not stray off the path and become wayward. So wayward to me means just a bad child, a bad person, a bad human being that consistently has bad antisocial behavior.
Right. Okay.
But you can have parents now in modern day times where both parents are working. So now there's a mad dash to the bathroom. There's a mad dash to get dressed, to get out the house. The parents go to work. The kids go to school. The kids go to aftercare. They come home. It's dinner. It's homework. It's bath time, and it's bed. and it's all over, day after day after day. The weekends come, laundry, cut the grass,
Right.
those sort of things. So the
Mhm.
parenting is diminished
Mhm.
because you don't have that consistent guidance with the children.
Mm.
So the parenting is diminished, but they're still good people. And in both aspects, you know, even if you are given sound guidance consistent to your children, children are humans, humans are not perfect, and humans can make mistakes. So
Exactly.
you can make a mistake,
Mhm.
but to be a person that consistently and habitually engages in bad antisocial behavior is a wayward child. And I don't see that happening if they've been raised for many, many years, with the right, proper guidance and principle, in my
Mm.
opinion.
Right. Right. So I guess I guess you know uh, I would somewhat disagree, although I hear what you're saying, because like you said at the end, um, we we are all individuals, and um, we have our own um, mindset, right? So you can be raised in a quote unquote good home, a Christian home, and um, you go to church, you go to your Sunday school or your Sabbath school, depending on whatever, and at a certain point, we all you can have 5 kids, and you may find they all, if everybody's experiencing the same thing, but one just chooses to not believe, one just chooses to do their own thing. Yes, they had the exposure, yes, they have the teaching, it's there, but they have that free will, right? So I would say yes, you can be raised in a quote unquote good home, but um, as that child grows, they can exercise their own will, and the goal is hopefully, prayerfully, that they eventually would come back to the good teaching. But that doesn't always happen. That's the hope, that's the prayer, but we know that that individuals make their own choices, and sometimes uh, it really has nothing to do with the parent.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's some good points there. I guess I'm more idealistic in my thinking. I'm thinking of
Right.
the movie Boys in the Hood. I don't know if you remember that movie, but in that movie, long story short, when
Yeah.
Morris Chestnut's character was killed,
Uh-huh.
then the guys wanted to get revenge.
Right.
So Cuba Gooding's character, he jumped in the car with Ice Cube, and they were riding around looking, and the camera went back and forth between Cuba Gooding Jr. and Lawrence Fishburne, furious, back and forth, back and forth. And then I consider that like those ethical principles and virtues deeply embedded inside of Cuba Gooding Jr. And then he just said, "Let me out, let me out," and he was dropped off.
Right.
So to me, you know, those teachings will travel with the child when they're out there in the world.
Yeah. Yes, it
And
does.
yeah, so and they talk about, if let's say for example you're watching a movie and someone they take a metal spike into their eye, and you might reflexively cover your own eye
Right.
even though you're in the comfort of your own home. So
Right.
why does that happen? You know, it's sort of empathy for that person.
Right.
And again, when you're raised, you know, especially fathers have a lot to do with that, but you're taught empathy. And that's sort of a physiological thing that's sort of manifested by what they call the mirror cells or mirror neurons that develops when you're a child.
Right.
And you develop empathy.
Right.
And you develop empathy, you have those values and virtues, and that's what's carried with you. Now, if you don't have that development when you're a child, that's the difference where you can become a quote unquote wayward child, where you're doing things, bad things.
Right.
But again, you know, we have free will. We can make mistakes.
Right.
So, but the person that habitually does that, to me, they just don't have that good Samaritan sitting on their shoulder telling them what to do.
Right.
This is not right, because the parenting just wasn't embedded enough. Because, you know, that's just my opinion. That's how I see it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say it was good enough. Really, it still is a choice. You know, we're all wrestling with the choice. Even myself as a Christian, I still wrestle with everyday choices, to struggling to in doing the good that I know I should do, and yet still I end up doing what I know I should not be doing. So, but then, you know, simply because, you know, I'm a Christian, then I still make mistakes, but then I'm still moving in a particular direction. So I'm not, quote unquote, living and walking in my sins, in the wrong that I know is wrong. You know, I still get up even after I make a mistake as a Christian, but I'm still heading in that particular direction. Whereas the other person who may have had the same initial upbringing, they simply choose because their choices bring a certain immediate joy and satisfaction to them, but they're still making bad choices. You know, so, you know, that's what I would say. But, you know, just to sort of go back to the first question, you know, where I was asking, is, you know, if parenting is ever finished, I would, you know, how would you describe how parenting strategies, right? How parenting strategies should change as the child matures. You know, so you know, if Marv is back, or Ray, you know, we can just continue until Marv reconnects.
So how should the strategies change?
Yeah, how
over time?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would say that when a child is born, the parent has total authority over that child.
Right.
And, you know, a baby, a child, they can't do much of anything for themselves. And, you know, they need structure and guidance and support and all those different things. But to me, from day one, that authority over the child is an ever receding pocket of authority. As that child gets older, that authority diminishes day after day after day after day. So now, when you have a young child, if a young child is running with scissors, you're going to tell the child you cannot do that.
Right.
You know, you don't want the child to figure out on his own,
right,
you know, that he shouldn't run with scissors.
Right.
But you take it on a gradient, and as that child gets older, then you can incorporate, you know, some lessons, some teachable lessons, or the child can learn through
Right.
experience.
Mhm.
So you still have to protect the child,
Yeah.
and it all depends on the development of the child and what stage the child is in that
Right.
particular point in time in their life. But
Right.
as they get older, you sort of
So just
yeah.
to interject in what you're saying there is it becomes less in terms of age as the child ages, but it more depends on how the child matures, because you can have a 20-year-old who is older, but you can have a 15-year-old who is much more mature, and you parent that 15-year-old who is more mature differently from
Yeah.
18-year-old. Right. So so the control is more connected to the level of maturity as opposed to incremental age.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think that a great example, I don't know, I mean, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the story of the prodigal son.
Right. Yeah.
To me,
Luke
that's a
15.
hmm?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story
Uh-huh.
that incorporates parenting, but again, I might have a different take on it. But
I,
to
well,
me, the to me, the villain, if you want to say the villain was the father
the
in
villain was the father.
in that story.
The
You know,
villain was the father. Okay,
yeah,
that. Well, they say the prodigal son, uh, but one could say the father was prodigal in a sense that if you look, prodigal being waste, so there is a sense, and I would be interested to see what angle you take on how you would say the prodigal father as opposed to the prodigal son. Um, I'm not quite sure if this is the arena for it, but I'm still interested in hearing what you have to say.
well, if we have time, we can go into it. But for starters, if you think of Elon Musk, he's a
Mhm.
trillionaire.
Yeah.
A couple months ago, it was stated that he was worth $800 billion,
Mhm.
but he said that he only had $800 million in cash. So
Mhm.
now he's a trillionaire.
Mhm.
So let's just say, for math's sake, he has 10 kids. One child said, I want my inheritance now.
Right.
That's about what, $100 billion that
Mhm.
Elon Musk would have to give to that one child, which he does not have.
Mhm.
All of his worth is in Tesla and SpaceX and Twitter, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So he would have to sell off a lot of his assets just to satisfy this one predatory child that wanted his money
Right.
while his father was still alive.
Right.
So to me, that's an incredibly irresponsible thing, back to the prodigal son, for the father to do, to
Right.
give this child the
Right.
money. And to me, that's an act of, if you want to say, vanity, where he just wanted to look good and didn't want to parent his child and say no and do the hard thing immediately. He just
Mhm.
gave the child what he wanted.
Mhm.
Now the child goes off, squanders the money,
Mhm.
and he comes back
Mhm.
and he throws him a party.
Right.
So now I'm going to switch to another story where Bill Parcells is a coach. He was coaching, I think it was Brian Cox, and he put an empty can in Brian Cox's locker. And he said, is there anything left in the tank? And that motivated Brian Cox to come back to play football. So as a coach, you have to know your players. Some players, you can scream at them. Some you have to talk to them. Some you have to play mind games. But you have to know your players.
Right.
In the prodigal son, the father, again, should have known his child. And it lends to what you said. You would parent a 15-year-old differently than a 20-year-old.
Mhm.
So now the father should have known that his son would squander the money.
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
bad parenting. And then when he comes back, he doesn't even vet his son to see if he learned his lesson. He throws him a party, not to mention how he treated the other loyal son. So to me, that's a way that you produce a wayward child or dependent child by not parenting from day one. So that's how I just see that the father was kind of the problem. And he did his son a disservice from day one.
Okay, I understand and I see where you're coming from with that. So my take on that is completely different, or different from that, in the sense that the father in the prodigal son, which is for our viewers who may not know, is captured in Luke chapter 15, I think verses like 11 to the end, which is probably 32 thereabout. The father, who in this parable who is a symbol of Jesus, of God, right? He knows the son. He knows his son, and he knows the dangers of giving this money to the son, but he made the choice because the son is demanding this, and the father is saying, okay, you're going to have to learn this lesson. It's not always about me preventing you, because clearly I have taught you, but now I have to allow you to go out there and exercise this free will, and I have to trust the training. Just like when my youngest son goes off to temple, the first thing I tell him, son, I trust your judgment. I know he's going to make mistakes. I know that, but I can't keep him as much as how I wanted him to probably attend a Florida school. Philly is where he wanted to go, and I have to give him that freedom. But I also trust the training, the 18 years that I had him here in, going to church and what I poured into him. So in the story, the father had to trust what he has taught the child. So now the child went off, squandered his money, which is exactly what the father knew. And what happened is, in that test and trial and that hardship, he remembered what he lost, what he stepped away from. So he's now returning to his father with not even to return as the status of a son, but he was willing to lower himself to say, Dad, I'm going to return to be even a servant. But the father, seeing him afar off and not even allowing him to express what is on his heart, the father loves him so much, and in him coming on is evidence of his repentance, of his forgiveness. So that's why the father is able to say, my son who was dead is now alive, because he now knows the son's heart, that there has been a change. So he can celebrate because the change has been made, right? And that's what the parable is trying to teach us, that no matter how far we have strayed, we can always return to God. It's the devil who is on the other side, who is telling us, oh, no, you have gone too far. There's no return. Just stay where you are. You can't go back. So, that tension is always there. But what God is telling us in this story is, you can never out sin God's love and mercy and grace for us. As far as the other son is concerned, which is, sort of a more probably in line with what, we wanted to talk about here, really, is the son who was at home, who never truly understood his father's love. That's what the older son represent. The dad didn't do anything for him. The dad did not withhold anything from him. He misinterpreted his dad's love and did not enter the feast that was thrown for the younger son, because he said, I was here so long and you never threw me a party, but that is him thinking, which is what a lot of us in today's society does, where we think we have to earn God's love. We have to earn our own salvation, where that is free. It's not something that we have to earn. Once you're with the Father, you have all of that. So,
Okay.
yeah. Again, is Marv back with the conversation?
I don't see him, but he did send me a text saying that he was back. So I don't know if you have to let him in or something.
Okay. I am not quite sure, because I do not want to.
You don't want to interrupt anything.
Right, because it is really
It's a little delicate. Yeah.
delicate at this point. I could step away for 1 second. All right. I could probably step away. Send him a text, Ray, and ask him if he's still currently on. Right. Do that.
He sent me. Let me see.
Do that.
I'm gonna send him something in the chat right now.
Yeah. Yes, Ray. So I was just looking to see. Ray? Marvin? Careful. Ray and Marvin?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes. What about Ray?
No, I don't see Ray, but he just sent me something. Hold on 1 second.
I'm just trying to get some technical help to make,
Yeah, I just sent him a text. I don't know if he logged out and to log back in.
Okay. All right. So Marv, so as we wait for Ray to log back in, what's your first question?
What one of the questions were, well, what is some of the challenges of parenting your adult child?
Right. Okay, hold on. Let me see if we can get back Ray.
Oh, here he comes. I think
I'm here.
There he is.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Good.
Okay, good.
All right. So,
So,
thanks again,
thanks
Mark
again,
and,
Martin
and Ray.
and Ray.
So, Ray, I'm not quite sure if you heard. Mark, you can
Mark, you can
repeat that question.
that question.
Okay, it says, what are some of the challenges of parenting your young adult child?
Right.
Right.
I'll just
I'll just
jump in. So
So
the
the
child
child that
and why we say child because we're really
really
addressing
addressing
young adults.
young adults.
Right. We
Right?
raised our kids.
kids.
They
They
went off
off
to college, university.
university.
They
They
or they may have
or
just
they may
gone
have
to
just
technical
gone to
school,
technical
or they
school, or
just left home and
and
created a life for
created a life
themselves.
for themselves.
And
And
for whatever
for whatever
reason,
reason,
they are
they
not
are
returning
not
home.
returning home.
Right.
Right?
So you know, just to add to that, young adults return home for a number of reasons. Financial, distress, educational, unemployment. It could be health slash mental health issues. And also, it could be for some other good reason, like aging parents. So the child may return home so that they are providing care for their aging parents. So that's like the backdrop. But to answer your question, what are the challenges in parenting our young adults? I would probably say this off the top of my head. What what are some of the expectations as that young adult returns home? Should they pay rent? Should they contribute to the grocery slash cooking slash meal prep? Right? Should they do household chores? Right? What do you want to add to that?
Well, based on what the question, in terms of
Mm-hmm.
parenting adult children, right?
Yeah.
All of the things you said before
Mm-hmm.
pose challenges for them, but as the father and mother,
Mm-hmm.
the challenges you face, right? You see, not so much what they face, what you face. See, because you said that they come back to maybe having to take care of a parent, but basically it's more of you. What are your challenges in parenting them? So, them coming home and all of what you just said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having them to get acclimated into paying bills, what does a curfew look like,
Right.
in terms of what you expect for a
Right.
young adult to come in at a certain time when they may, when they was off to college, or where, they
Mm-hmm.
they said, listen, man, I can come in 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Nobody's really, whereas
Mm-hmm.
you might say, listen, man, I don't want nobody coming in my house no 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So it's different. Those challenges you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
are things that, yes, we know can happen,
Mm-hmm.
but for the parent, right? Having to deal with, I just look at it as more of, okay, I'm home now, right?
Mhm.
Or I came back home. Let's say I came back home for whatever reason, right?
Right. Mhm.
And now I feel like, listen, I'm entitled to this. That's so you and the wife may have set boundaries on what you want done in the household and how you guys operate.
Mhm.
Now you have your young adult coming back
Mhm.
and saying, listen, man, I wash dishes when I feel like it,
Mhm.
where you might want your sink clean every night.
Right.
So did I think from because I don't have older children. I have a teenager.
Mhm.
But what I'm sensing, right,
Mhm.
based on my environment,
Mhm.
I see a lot of sense of entitlement,
Mhm.
regardless to what the parent is trying to instill, like the discipline, responsibility, teaching you how to, be productive. You know what I mean? Not holding your hand, but pretty much saying, yo, listen, this is what, young adults do.
Mhm.
But you have, you know, some that may grasp it, right? They may get it and say, okay, cool. That this is what I feel I should be doing. And then you have some that just say, listen, man, I'm entitled to this. That's what I think I see more in this generation, a sense of entitlement versus, you know, a parent trying to guide you, lead you in the right direction,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. But I guess we just want to, first upfront, just to, just to list out what what are those challenges that may arise in the household before we actually get into um, how we address them. You know, but but yeah, I mean, we're clearly going to get into the the child. Well, not saying child, the adults uh, who may be playing loud music, who is accustomed to that, and who is accustomed to having overnight situations, and the young adults who may not be very clean, tidy, and
Hmm.
so those are going to be all the challenges. Is the young adult working? Are they just being are they eating and not contributing? So it's really important. Uh, you know, Given that the parent says yes, you can come home. We want to assist you, but now we have to have a conversation.
Yeah. I mean,
Ray.
yeah, Ray. You jump on this, man. You jump.
Well,
You-
it's you missed the conversation that Andrew and I had a little bit earlier. But to me, just my point of view is there's a finite point of parenting,
Mhm.
and it stops.
Mhm.
So when the adult child, if we're using the scenario
Mhm.
of a child that went to college and now they're coming home, they're still young, and you're still offering support, but you're doing a lot less parenting at this stage of the game. At this stage, now, if you have particular boundaries and rules and regulations that you want in your household, then that's just a discussion that you have with your child if they want to come back and live with you. But to me, you're not parenting per se anymore. You're just giving some advice and guidance and support at that stage of the game.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with, what you're saying in terms of the parenting part. At some point it stops, right? When we say it stops, because you're not gonna stop being their parent. You see what I'm saying? Regardless to what, you're still gonna be mom and dad. So that's a given, right? But in terms of, you know, taking care, let's say taking care of them,
Right.
that there becomes a time where that part stops, where now that you're a young adult, you have to now fend for yourself in the sense that, you know, you now have to, okay, I believe I did hear a little bit when you were saying about just trying to kind of guide the child and hoping that they follow the guidance up until that point, right? Until the adulthood stage. But I'm just thinking of what happens in between if you have that situation where that concept is not being, how can I say, the concept is not really being grasped, so to speak. Like okay, I get it, but I still need you to take care of me, so to speak. I'm your child, and you need to take care of me no matter what.
Right. So it sounds like you're describing a particular young adult who is returning and feels entitled. Right. I guess probably the next question is, since Ray said, we have to set up boundaries, how would you describe what those boundaries look like?
Hmm. That's me or Ray? Or just
Anyone?
you jump on that, Ray.
What do the boundaries look like?
Right.
Um, there's a lot of, or there's some variability in that situation. If we're talking about a child returning home from college,
Uh-huh.
was the child a computer science major 4 years ago, graduated, has a degree, and can't get a job because AI took all the entry-level jobs? So, in a situation like that, you might be more helpful to that child monetarily because the child needs it and it's through no fault of their own. Is it a child that has come home and seems to be a little lax in terms of looking for a job?
Right.
That's handled differently.
Hmm.
Right.
So at the end of the day, when a baby is born, the baby cries and you got to get up and give the baby its milk and change him or whatever the case may be. And the baby doesn't care how tired you are.
Right.
You got to get up and take care of the child. He doesn't care. And you don't mind that because you don't want the child to say, well, I don't want mom or dad to get up because they got up 2 times already. Because if that child starves to death and dies, the parents are going to be upset.
Right.
So you kind of have to subject yourself to the whim of children, and children are brutally selfish when they're babies.
Right. Yeah.
And that's okay.
Mhm.
But when you become an adult, those days are over. It's not about what you want. It's now, as an adult, what can you offer? What value do you bring? So if a child comes home and has that mindset that they want to provide value, then you might handle that child differently insofar as providing support
Right.
for that child. So it all depends on the child.
Right. So,
Yeah.
So I would take even your example, your two examples. You had a child who went off and got their degree, but they're unemployed, and they return home. Or you may have a child who may an adult who may have not left the house, but shows no desire to go out and work. So like you said, the boundaries are good. We have to set up boundaries. They may look a little bit different. But in order to foster maturity and allow that an adult to launch properly, we have to expect the child, as long as you're here, you continue to be here. You have to, like you said, contribute. So whether you're unemployed or you have not gotten a job, well, for the one that has gotten a job, you have to insist that they make daily effort, applications, interviews to go out there to get a job. But at the same time, they have to contribute. It may not be financially because they don't have it, but you can contribute to the household differently. Right? You can ensure that things are in place. You can contribute to the meal prep. Their contribution may look differently, but they have to do something while they're there.
Yeah.
So then I will segue to a question. Then the question is then how can we encourage responsibility and not dependency?
Right.
How do the parents do that?
Right. So like how you mentioned how the infant who is just simply crying because they're hungry. That's what they're doing, and we have to respond because the child cannot feed themselves. What happens is when you allow your young adult to return home, we can revert to simply helping them to the detriment of ourselves and to that. young adults, because we are just
we are
going
just
into
going into
fixed states,
states,
right?
right?
Whereas that is
that
just going
is just
to
going to
create a lot of
create a lot
problems
of problems
long term,
long
because
term, because
resentment on your
on
part,
your part,
and
and
on
on
the young
the
adult,
young adult,
they are not
they are not
learning
learning
responsibility.
responsibility.
They're not
They're
learning
not
how
learning
to do
how to
things for
do things
themselves.
for
So
themselves. So
they just
they
continue
just
being
continue being
dependent, and then
dependent, and then
you
you
eventually
eventually
start
start
resenting it
resenting it
because
because
you
you
start feeling
start
burnt out.
feeling burnt out.
So there has
So
to be
there has to be
a
a
medium.
medium.
Yeah, it's funny, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Ray said something a little while ago about value. You
Mm-hmm.
adding value, right?
Uh-huh.
And that is a very good point, a very good statement.
Mm-hmm.
Value. What do you bring into the table? Because guess what? That's what everybody is looking for, right? What kind of value are you bringing to the table? Whether it be a job, relationship, whatever have you,
Mm-hmm.
people are looking for that value that you bring, right?
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you know, just going back to what you guys were just saying about, how that is instilled in terms of, wanting to be able to have the discipline to say, well, you know what, this is a responsibility that I need to take on. And what I'm going to say is that, and I'm going to put it on us, the parents,
Mm-hmm.
it starts when they're young, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ray and I, Ray used to always say, tell me, about some of my uncle when he, would say about washing the car. You know what I mean? You want to drive my car, you got to wash it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, these things, right? He's saying, listen, you want something, you have to do something for it,
Right.
right? There's no, you just get in the car, drive the car, and park it and put it right back.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, man, I want my car looking nice and clean and good, and because you want to use it, you know, this is what I require. So again, when you start those type of trends early, and that type of discipline early,
Mm-hmm.
I think what ends up happening, well, I believe what ends up happening is
Mm-hmm.
that the young adult is
Mm-hmm.
instilled in them,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's instilled in them, and I'm not saying that they can't change, right? Like, say for instance, if they were a certain, because I was like that, and then changed. So
Mm-hmm.
you can change, but it takes a level of maturity and the attitude. You have to want to do that. You have to want to say, you know what, yeah, I want to stand on my own 2 feet. I want to be able to, you know do the things I need to do to be a productive adult in life. So my thing is, it starts with us early as parents to instill that discipline, or
Mm-hmm.
instill that kind of uniform. Okay, on Saturday morning, this is what we do. We clean up. You know, and that to me seems like will continue.
I'm getting back on your side, Aaron.
Yeah, yeah, I'm getting a little feedback now myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can you hear
again,
me?
Again,
no,
no,
Ray.
great.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, just to continue, then when you talk about instilling those virtues and values early, how can we set consequences to encourage personal growth and independence in our young adults then?
Say that one more time, Ray.
So how can we set consequences to encourage personal growth and independence in our young adults then?
Oh man, it takes.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. We probably will have to pause the recording here for a moment. Probably,
Okay.
have a part two. We have practically gone an hour, and clearly there's a lot more to say on this, and the telecommunication network
Is acting up. So guys, Ray and Marv,
Yeah.
if you guys can hear, all of a sudden now,
Yeah,
if
it
you
went
guys
back.
sound clear.
Yeah, it went back.
I still have the echo though and the feedback.
Yeah, but it's not that bad. So let's just ask that.
Yeah,
last
let's
question
because
you
Ray,
had,
that was a good question. That good. Repeat it one more time, Ray. One more time.
So with everything that you said and talking about instilling and starting early, as the child is older now, how now do you set consequences to encourage personal growth and independence in our young adults now?
So one of the things, right, and it's funny because the reason I have a strong, even though my children are still young, I work with a lot of older, so to speak, adults, right?
Mhm.
And in that capacity, still, even in that capacity, right? We thrive on discipline. We give orders, and you have to follow the orders that we give, right? And a lot of times, you get a lot of pushback because you hear things like, "I'm grown, can't tell me what to do."
Mhm.
But here's the thing: even with that, right, being said that they're grown and you can't tell me what to do, the structure that we provide in terms of the movement, how you go to mass movement in terms of feet up, the hospital, school, whatever have you. When you break that, right? When you break that,
Mhm.
there is a consequence, right?
Mhm.
As Ray speak on consequences. And while it may seem small, right, it may delay your freedom.
Mhm.
So now let me put that into the real, being out in the real world.
Mhm.
You have a young adult, and now you're trying to get them to understand that, listen, you have to be able to operate as a young adult under these guidelines, these rules and regulations, right?
Right.
If the rules and regulations are broken, you as the parent now
Mhm.
have to enforce. Now, you have some that may say, you know what, that's my baby. I'm not gonna, because you hear it all the time.
Mhm.
But see, you do that that a young adult no good by doing that
Right.
because there's no lesson learned.
Mhm.
There's no so to Ray's point, how do we do that? Well, there's this thing they call tough love. Listen, man, I hear you. I understand what you're saying, but that can't work right here.
Right.
We can't do that right here. So if you feel that you can't follow these rules and regulations, or the boundaries, like Ray said, or those boundaries, then you have to now be able to go out there
Deal,
on your own and see
deal
how
with those
how it is.
consequences.
Right. So though that to me is how you combat that. Like, listen, man, the tough love thing. Well, you feel like you got it. So let's see you go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Ray, I would just add to what Martin is saying. Um, a crucial part in addressing an entitled young adult, or even uh, any young adult that is returning home, as we set these boundaries, um, to make it effective, to allow um, growth, continued growth for this young adult. The boundary has to be coupled with consistency.
Yes, yes,
Consistency is the key,
yes,
because
sir.
once that young adult pushes 3, 4 times and they realize that you're going to break on that fourth and fifth, then the respect is gone.
Gone. Yes, yes, yes.
Right? So
Perfect.
so 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 um, what's at the foundation of this new relationship between the parent and the young adult returning home um, has to be respect.
Mm-hmm.
So we, the parent, as we create these boundaries, and it's not just arbitrary. I mean, you're saying yes because it's your child. They're old, but you're having this conversation on day one, when you say yes and they move back in, and quite frankly, they may move back in as a single person. They may move back in with a family that they have created. So there are dynamics. So we don't wait for something to break. We have to address it upfront, and we have to mutually accept that these are the new laws of the household. These are the boundaries. These are the consequences, and the parent has to be consistent.
Yes. Good
Right?
words there,
Oh,
Andrew.
go ahead.
I'm just saying, yeah. I mean, I like those words and what you're saying, because again, and I'm just going to take it back to my environment for a minute.
Mhm.
You know, that's in that arena.
Mhm.
That's what most of the inmates respect more, is consistency.
Right. Yeah.
You remember what you just said a little while ago
Yeah.
about pushback.
Right.
They'll try you, right?
Right. Yeah.
And on the fourth time,
Yeah.
I got him. I think he going. But if
Mhm.
you stay the
Mhm.
course,
Once
guess
they
what
learn.
happens? Yeah, once you stay the course,
Right.
they already know
They know.
who they can
Mhm.
manipulate and who they can't manipulate, and who
Right.
they can get over with and who they can't get over with. So
Right.
that I really appreciate how you
Mhm.
put that in terms of the being consistent on
Mhm.
how you discipline.
Right.
It's not today I'm gonna, you know,
Mhm.
do it this way,
And then right.
and then tomorrow,
Mhm.
because guess like you said,
Mhm.
then the respect is lost.
Is lost. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I would just quickly say that if you are trying to establish or set consequences just to help the child and encourage their personal growth and independence, there's a saying that good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. So, you know, depending upon the circumstance, they have to sort of make mistakes, that sort of thing, and deal with those problems on their own. Of course, as a loving parent who has many more years of knowledge and experience, you would be a little bit more forceful if they're going to do something catastrophic that you know is going to cause a major problem. But if it's something that you foresee, you know, a problem, you intervene. And, you know, again, it's all about knowing your child as well.
Right.
You know, if a child wants to, or not child, an adult wants to go out and take a risk, it's good to be in a situation where you can take a risk and you know that you have somewhat of a safety net to land on. But it needs to be an educated, thought out, calculated risk. And as a parent, if we're aware of it, if you know that the adult child put some real thought into what they're doing and it's sound and it fails, then I would be more apt to be flexible and helping.
Right.
You know, if it's reckless and no thought, then you're going to have to learn from that experience and get better on your own.
Right.
And just in terms of consistency and setting boundaries, whatever the boundaries are that you set, if you're not consistent, then it's not really a boundary.
Right.
So, you know, that's what I would say about that.
Right. Yeah.
So is it ever too late to be a better parent then?
No, man. You know that's a loaded. Yeah, man. Woo. That one there. All
Yeah.
right. So with you with that question, right?
Mm,
Is it too late to be a better parent?
uh,
How does a young adult, right?
mhm.
You know, well, let me say this: how do you expect a young adult to receive you trying to do better? You understand what I'm saying? So you're saying, is it too late to be a better parent, right?
Mhm.
But you're expecting your young adult to be responsible, stuff that they may have not saw you doing, but they picked it up on their own.
Mhm.
How now, like you said, you want to now come and say, look, I wasn't there for you when, you were growing up, but I want to, how, as a parent now,
Mhm.
you think that child is going to be receptive to that type of guidance? I'm just playing a little devil's advocate because that's a loaded yeah, that's heavy right there, man.
Well, I think as human beings, we can always improve and
Mhm.
we can always become wiser. We're always looking to learn
Mhm.
and improve.
Mhm.
So in that regard, I mean, I think that, you know, if a child sees that, then they're more receptive to things that you may want to tell them. Um, I'm thinking here.
Yeah. I get your age.
Yeah, it's heavy. No, no.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm just playing
No,
devil's
no,
advocate.
because
I hear what you. I understand the question, but see, I'm just saying because you know, if you're the the person that the child is looking to for leadership, right?
Mhm.
But that leadership has not been there, and now they're kind of like sort of on shaky ground, right? And now you come to step in, and like you said, right? Yeah, you may have a little bit more because you're older, mature, you have a little bit more knowledge of, but now you try to instill that or give that feedback, and that young adult is like, wait a minute, where was this, you know, 10, 15 years ago? You know what I mean? Now you want to give, you understand what I'm saying? So,
yeah. But Marv, I think um, what I would add to what Ray's saying, which
mhm,
I agree in what he's saying, but to answer the point that you're making is, I would think that the parent who is even asking the question,
uh-huh.
um, is it, if it's too late to be a better parent, um, I would say yes, because chances are you are already a good parent, and we are all in this process, this journey of being better. Nobody is at the end of it, right? So I think I, one of the great tools in being a parent, humility. Um, we don't know everything as parents.
Right.
I
Mhm.
I have told my sons areas where I have fallen, um, because as they're seeing me as their parent, as their dad, um, but I have to let them know that I was once a child. I made mistakes, so that when they make mistakes, they don't see it as the end of the world, but they see it as, oh, this is something that is common to all humans. Um, so, so the only way this would really be a problem, uh, in the way how you're asking it, Mark, is unless I'm just coming across as the parent that is uh, that knows all, and that's not a good parent. And you don't even have to tell your child that you have made mistakes. The child is already cognizant of all the flaws, and you can't help that child, because that child is like, you're not even humble enough to admit where you're fallen. But if you approach the child differently in love, then there's value in it.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe
Yeah.
so. I mean, again, you have some people that, again, they want the help, they want the assistance,
Hmm.
but sometimes people have a way of looking at where the message is coming from, right? And who how they have trauma, so to speak, or in anything that in the back of their mind
Hmm.
that will leave doubt. Because again, like I said, just think about it, right?
Hmm.
And now I go to my smaller children, right?
Hmm.
You as the parent to them are like their God.
Hmm.
You know what I
Right.
mean? They look up to you. You know what I mean? You know, I can just speak firsthand. You know,
Yeah.
my boys, yo, daddy, and then it's like the difference that I get with how I interact with them
Hmm.
is totally different from how they interact with their mom. You know what I mean? And what I'm saying with that is that, you know, daddy, you strong.
Yeah.
Daddy, you know, you got muscles, you know. So, you know, and it's good because you want to be the person that they look. You don't want them on the looking on the outside for that type of
Hmm.
guidance or that type of I want to say, you know, your children are looking at you as their superhero,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then guess what happens? You know, sometimes, and like you said, it happens. But if you're humble enough to say that I've made some mistakes,
Hmm.
it's okay, son. It's okay, daughter. You know, this is what happens in life.
Right.
Then yes, you know that is good parenting, right?
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? But at the end of the day, you know, if you're doing those things all along, there's no doubt. Like you said, you don't have to. There's no explanation. You don't need to explain anything to them because they already have that connection with you because from the time you held them and you've been that way with them, they already know. Daddy is nurturing, mommy's nurturing. This is who I look to for my guidance.
Well, I also think that, I mean, so when we're talking about the question is it ever too late? And I guess to a certain degree, when you're raising children, it can be too late if you weren't a good parent and now they're adults. But I also think that
Yeah, I have problems
that
again.
there's a process. You know, if you are a parent or just a person, you know, some people will, if they want to buy a new car, they'll put a lot of effort and energy researching the 0 to 60 speed on the car and braking and, you know, reliability record, that sort of thing. But there's a lot of information out there on parenting. So you can be a better parent if you put in the same amount of effort and research into parenting as you do in like buying a new car or buying a house. So I think that if a child is dealing with a parent and they've seen that philosophy, that work
Right.
ethic in their parent,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Uh, I think we're going to take part and stop there because all of what you're saying, but we can't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I apologize. So let us just stay to this and we can move for part two. So yeah, thanks, Mar. It's great. Thanks all the viewers. Please, if you like, um, add all your comments down below. And we'll get to you as all right, guys. So yeah, thanks.
All right,
Okay.
all right, man.
Okay.
Yeah.